a way that suggests that the loss of... We were brought up, a lot of us in this room, at all levels of the game, you protected your wicket at all costs. That doesn't seem to be the attitude of a lot of modern players, and you're a good example.
Yeah, I was born with really good eyes and a shocking technique, so I sort of only had... For me, it was either six or out. I didn't necessarily have the technique to be able to withstand quality fast bowling or quality spin bowling over a long period of time. So it wasn't until I kind of just accepted that, tried to increase become better at my weaknesses, I guess, and shore up a little of my defence. But it was more about concentrating on my skills and working on the things which I can do well, and which is put pressure on the bowler and try and be aggressive and try and play that sort of game. And once I let go of trying to become a different player and just accepted the player that I was, I think my results started to increase. And I think we've seen that with different players all around the world, the Chris Gales, the Verinder Sehwags, the David Warners. They go out there and the games that they play in T20 are not too dissimilar to how they play in Test cricket, because I think they've accepted that is what is right for them, rather than chasing, we call it chasing the unicorn, and that's the perfect technique, because it doesn't exist.
But if you were the best example of adventure, and he is the best modern example of something close to the perfect technique, if not the perfect technique, then you are a good example of somebody...
I don't know what's coming, but it's not going to be good.
Of somebody in the middle who had a natural way of playing that brought you success in the one-day game. Then you got into the Test side and tried to adapt for Test match cricket, which meant limiting yourself. Do you regret that, or do you think it's something you could have, with more time, improved upon?
Yeah, I've no doubt I would have improved, obviously, with more experience and matches under my belt. But I tend to have to agree with Brendon on this one. I was a similar instance, and it's probably only happened over the last couple of years. I've changed my technique so much probably for the last 6 or 7 years. That up until about 2 years ago, I just accepted who I was as a player, and it's important not to forget actually what your strengths are. You can only manage your weaknesses only to such a degree where your strengths have to take over, and trying to get myself in as best position as possible, I think, has contributed to that. So, but that's come with experience. And
are Sri Lankans taught well? I mean, I'm trying to think, you think of guys like Roy Dias and Siddharth Wetamuni as against, say, Duleep Mendis and Arjuna, who are more unorthodox. Then you think of Aravinda, pretty orthodox. There's a real mixture comes out of Sri Lanka. Is that the teaching, or is it the fact that there isn't much teaching and everybody's just who they are?
No, I think there's a lot of coaching in Sri Lanka. A lot of children now start when they're like 6 or 7, and they're very technical, the coaches that actually take care of these children, which is sometimes unfortunate, because I always look at people like Sanath, Mendes, Murali, even Aravinda at times, and think, isn't it wonderful to have people who have maybe escaped formalized coaching at a very young age, so that have something so unique and wonderful that people love to watch them play. They're absolute match winners. Lasith Malinga, for example. And I love having these guys in a team, because they're the difference, the X factor that brings you so many wins. It's a strange mixture in Sri Lanka, and one of the other things probably that goes in our favour when producing unorthodox players is that maybe we don't have such a formalised first-class structure. We have a very good school structure, but once in a while you get players who've escaped that school coaching structure, just fallen into first-class cricket, or suddenly turned up at the nets because some guy's written a letter saying this guy's a good bowler, and he comes over and starts bowling, and suddenly 2 years later he's playing in the national side. Lasith Malinga was a great example. I remember the first time he turned up, either he bowled a yorker or a bouncer, and after facing 3 balls, every batsman in the side said, "Thank you, I think you should go to the other net." So Lasith kept getting shifted until we ran out of nets, and he just stood on the sidelines because no one wanted to face him. And again, 2 years later, he was playing for us, and now he's become the best one-day and T20 death bowler, and maybe one of the most effective short form bowlers for Sri Lanka. So it's a funny system, but it's very interesting how you talk about technique. At the end of the day, you're going to get out at some point. And if you're a batsman, if you score enough runs before you do get out, then I think that's the way to go.
Very good. Very good. Now, from Twitter, at Home of Cricket, so that's us, at Kumar, right. I can't see who this is. Oh, Elliot Evans, got it. Elliot Evans, if you're out there, this is you. What's the worst or funniest way that you've ever got out? We'll start with you, Eoin.
Worst or funniest?
Worst or funniest?
I played my debut for Ireland at Eton College against the CCC, Club Cricket Conference. And I opened the batting. And I roomed with a guy who'd been dropped for that game. And he was sort of sleeping when I was putting my pads on, and he didn't look like he was going very far very soon. And I got run out without facing a ball. I walked off, sat down, put my pads on. He's raced out, sat down beside me, and he goes, "What number are you batting?" It broke my heart.
Kumar.
I was batting in a one-day game at Ketaram under lights, hot and humid, putting on a partnership with our last recognized batsman, chasing a total of 315. And I thought I'd be smart because I'll bat 2.5 feet outside the crease or thereabouts. I just asked for a change of gloves the previous over, and as usual, as most 12th men and reserves are, they're watching TV, watching the crowd, and forgot to look at me, so they were in over late. And I was bowled a full toss, swung at it, the bat slipped out of my hand, went above my head, fell onto my stumps. I was out, hit wicket. And I was thinking, what an idiot. If it stayed in your crease, it would have gone 1.5 behind the wicket. So that's my story.
All right.
It's on YouTube, so you can all watch it.
Mine was the other day at the ground called Merchant Taylors, and I thought South Dunedin was cold. Oh, it was that cold, that ground. And I was batting, and I hit hit about my fourth ball for 6. And then the next ball, I've gone to swing pretty much exactly the same shot. And the bat's come out of my hand. Morgs was there. It's come out of my hand, and it's gone over. It's just about cleaned up the wicket keeper. And then it's gone over and over just where the short third man is. It's gone straight up, caught. So, but the worst thing, well, that was embarrassing enough. But then the change room's over the other side, and the third man guy didn't even bother coming and picking my bat up, so I had to walk all the way over there while they were all in a huddle, pick my bat up, then walk all the way back past them, and then out and into the what do you call that thing where we were getting changed? A tent.
That was a tent, yeah.
6 and out.
6 and out. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you mine just for the sake of it. Stump Bairstow, bowl boycott. Stumped down the leg side, last ball function in a NatWest match, not out 35, and I worked with boycott, and not a day goes by. Kumar, right? Actually, this might be a nice way to close things down. The question is from Kumar. I suppose it's from Kumar to Kumar, but it's to all of us. What's been the most satisfying change that you've seen in any aspect of the game over the past few years? Now, it may be that you've already answered that for us this evening, so I'm going to leave you for a second in case there's something you'd like to add. The most satisfying change to cricket it says the last few years, but let's say in your time.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think what I've seen is that a lot more players around the world actually take the responsibility of playing the game very seriously. Gone are the days where you only talk about the day's play, have a beer and talk and chit chat. A lot of people actually now, when talking to each other or talking to youngsters or talking to people, actually talk about the game, the way it should be played, how we played, attitudes. And you can see a huge softening, not in the way they play their cricket. They play, all teams play very, very hard. But I think you see a softening in that earlier hardness that you saw, the individuals, the personalities, where the connect with the public, the connect with the fan, and the connect with the game is a lot stronger now. than it might have been in the past. And I hope that it gets stronger in the future, because I think everyone's talking about Test cricket and spectators and all of this, because at the end of the day, if no one watches us, no one feels that connection, and no one comes to watch the game, cricket and cricketers both will become a thing of the past.
I love that. Eoin?
I'd probably have to say the general levels of fitness, both in international cricket and domestic. I think there's always a huge amount of talk about how big the bats are and how significantly that they've changed the course of not only the scores that we're posting, but they've changed the game of cricket, almost cricket/baseball. And I couldn't disagree more. Yes, the bats are changing, but so is everything about the game. And the most significant one for me, since I've turned professional at 16 to I'm 29 now, has been the general levels of fitness. Guys are turning up and they are serious athletes, as opposed to just something that you do after your batting, fielding and bowling. So that's a hugely significant thing, I think.
Well, that's why I retired, because it's too hard. Yeah, that's it.